We're back 10 minutes
We're
later.
back.
That was like a 2.5 hour stream. We're back 10 minutes later.
10
Just
minutes
enough
later.
time to get food in our system.
Yeah, and we're gonna go live right now to the House of Commons, where
right.
there is an ongoing press conference. Prime Minister Trudeau is announcing something or other and giving us an update. So let's just hear what he has to say. I mean, we can pause this too, because we can do that
Pause
too.
what?
Well, once he's going, like if we get to a certain point,
If you want to speak in
discuss,
between, or should we give him his? Okay. I'll go whatever you want. Yeah, I like the whole pausing thing.
All right.
I am accompanied today by Deputy Prime Minister Freeland and Ministers Lavetti, Mendocino, and Blair. I'm here to give you an update on the illegal blockades and tell you about our efforts to support Ukraine facing potential Russian invasion. But let's begin with the situation here in Canada, of course.
Illegal blockades have been disrupting the lives of too many Canadians. Here in our capital city, families and small businesses have been enduring illegal obstruction of their neighborhoods, occupying streets, harassing people, breaking the law. This is not a peaceful protest. At the borders in different parts of the country, the blockades are harming our economy.
All right, we're into it. All the keywords he's using. Jesus, forgive me, Lord. But yeah, illegal blockades, violence. This is not a peaceful protest. I don't know what news feed he's watching, but that's not the same stuff I'm watching. So anyways, let's continue. Let's see where this goes, but it's already off to a bad start.
Economy and endangering public safety. Critical supply chains have been disrupted. This is hurting workers who rely on these jobs to feed their families. Yesterday, the Ambassador Bridge was reopened between Windsor and Detroit. Our team and I have been working with Ontario and the City of Windsor around the clock. I want to thank the officers on the ground, including the RCMP, who played an active role. We now have a responsibility to make sure that the bridge stays open. With each illegal blockade, local law enforcement agencies have been acting to keep the peace within their jurisdiction. Despite their best efforts, it is now clear that there are serious challenges to law enforcement's ability to effectively enforce the law.
Hold on. But a few days ago, he just said it was a few truckers and a fringe minority. How could it be that all of law enforcement cannot handle this matter any longer? He must have been not telling
all the
us
law
the truth.
enforcement that's standing up and saying, "Look, this is a peaceful kind of convoy or peaceful movement."
And when you say someone's doing something illegal, don't you have to say what is illegal about that? Like, not just, you can't just keep saying they're racist, they're misogynist, they're doing illegal things, but then never point to it. Sorry.
What's the
triggered?
Illegal,
triggered.
I mean, I guess exercising our democratic right to oppose,
yeah,
what we deem to be tyrannical.
On Friday,
I guess. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't interrupt it. Are we good?
No, yeah, let's go.
Ontario invoked a state of emergency to respond to the blockades. This was the responsible and necessary thing to do. Today, to continue building on these efforts, the federal government is ready to use more tools at its disposal to get the situation fully under control. After discussing with Cabinet and caucus, after consultation with premiers from all provinces and territories, after speaking with opposition leaders, the federal government has invoked the Emergencies Act to supplement provincial and territorial capacity to address the blockades and occupations. I want to be very clear. The scope of these measures will be time-limited, geographically targeted, as well as reasonable and proportionate to the
kind of like the lockdowns, 2 weeks to flatten the curve.
Threats they are meant to address. The Emergencies Act will be used to strengthen and support law enforcement agencies at all levels across the country. This is about keeping Canadians safe, protecting people's jobs, and restoring confidence in our institutions. Here's how the measures we're taking today will help get the situation under control. The police will be given more tools to restore order in places where public assemblies can constitute illegal and dangerous activities, such as blockades and occupations, as seen in Ottawa, Ambassador Bridge, and elsewhere. These tools include strengthening their ability to impose fines or imprisonment. The government will designate, secure, and protect places and infrastructure that are critical to our economy and people's jobs, including border crossings and airports. We cannot and will not allow illegal and dangerous activities to continue. The Emergencies Act will also allow the government to make sure essential services are rendered, for example, in order to tow vehicles blocking roads. In addition, financial institutions will be authorized or directed to render essential services to help address the situation, including by regulating and prohibiting the use of property to fund or support illegal blockades.
Boom.
Finally,
Right there. Oh man, that one is the scariest of them all.
What?
Literally, he's saying they're going to work with financial institutions to stop the funding or coordination of this. So basically, any Canadian who is part of the Freedom Convoy movement, with the clear ask to stop the mandates. Enough is enough. That's all they're asking. You didn't consult with the organizers. You haven't talked to the truckers. There's been no opportunity for dialogue. Come, give me a break. And now you're going to now you want to use financial pressures. You're going to be suspending people's accounts, limiting e-transfers, taking back, freezing bank accounts. That's where this is going to get to. Bitcoin
will enable the RCMP to enforce municipal bylaws and provincial offenses where required. This is what the Emergencies Act does. Let me be equally clear about what it does not do. We're not using the Emergencies Act to call in the military. We're not suspending fundamental rights or overriding the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. We are not limiting people's freedom of speech. We are not limiting freedom of peaceful assembly. We are not preventing people from exercising their right to protest legally. We are reinforcing the principles, values, and institutions that keep all Canadians free. Après les discussions avec...
Sorry, do you want to keep hearing this? Because this is going to go into French mode here. Thoughts, feelings? You look like you're a little frustrated right now. Clown world here. Look at this. Perfect comment.
Yeah, well, again, it's
Following
just
discussion.
it's just escalation.
Hmm.
It's just further escalation. It's a broken record. It's just the same thing going on and on and on. There were leaders that were opposed to these movements. It's how about we hold a referendum? How about we engage in, how do we do a town hall? It's now to the point where, I think the people of Ottawa, the citizens of Ottawa, anyone who's actually gone into, to meet and participate and share and learn and dance and explore and create, it's a totally different side. This is not a violent situation. If anything, he's trying to make it violent. He's seeking violence.
This is insanity. All he had to do was go and talk to them. Anyways, this is pretty
And like,
scary.
yeah, to all the police officers out there, like, think about this. Is this truly what is like? Are you willing to enforce, like, what he's saying? Which was, again, he's just reading from a script here, but he's buying into the script. And like, look at his 4 masked people behind him, but they probably were meeting in a room just 5 minutes ago, not wearing masks together, off camera, but. It's all about optics. Like, none of them look happy. Like, Christia looks like she can't even breathe. It looks like a muzzle. Like, look at David Lametti. What's he wearing? Like, it's terrible.
With Cabinet and Caucus, after consulting the premiers of all provinces and territories, and after speaking with the leaders of the opposition parties, the federal government has invoked the Emergency Measures Act to complete provincial and territorial powers in order to manage the illegal blockades and occupations. I want to be very clear. These measures will be limited in time and geographically targeted. They will be reasonable, they will be proportional to the threats to Canada's security. The Emergency Measures Act will strengthen and support the work by the police. We are not using the Emergency Measures Act in order to deploy the military. We will not be suspending fundamental rights. As articulated in the Charter of Rights and Freedom, we are not limiting the right to peacefully protest or assemble. What we want to do is protecting Canadians, protecting their jobs, and reinstating confidence in our institutions.
Thing that's been used ever, but it exists for a reason.
Wait, so
Invoking
did he just say it's never been used?
Never been used.
It's never been used ever, but it's there for a reason, so we're gonna use it. Bouncy castle.
Because just bouncy castles and
That's all I can say,
radical
bouncy
sharing,
castle, yeah.
community involvement, a
Crime down
stage,
90%.
Flags, people crime down 90%, radical sharing, decommodification, like super high vibrations, people speaking from their heart,
Music, love,
children
peace,
coming out,
children.
I can't get the army
Indigenous,
out. We're not going to call. Like,
international.
we're not going to get the army though, because the army is not going to show up if we did that. So we're going to give them all the tools they need. Including we're going to work with our corporate partners in the banks to start going after the bank accounts of freedom-loving Canadians. Because what more is free than what says more than freedom than having your wealth be appropriated because of a point of view or a support for what it means to be Canadian, to standing up to be for the true north, strong and free.
Is never the first thing a government should do, nor even the second. The act is to be used sparingly.
He never even tried. He declared he had COVID and then he just hid for 2 weeks. Not the first, second. Try the first thing.
No, and then they shut
Civil
down
discourse,
today. And
talking,
then, yeah,
communication, seek first to understand, then to be understood. What happened to all these concepts? Frick. Someone needs to give him a copy of the 7 Habits of the Highly Effective People. Here, let's go.
It's a last resort. Right now, the situation requires additional tools not held by any other federal, provincial, or territorial law. Today, in these circumstances, it is now clear that responsible leadership requires us to do this. These measures must be and will be compliant with our Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Indeed, the Emergencies Act was created in the late 80s to flow from and uphold the Charter. We'll always defend the rights of Canadians to peaceful assembly and to freedom of expression, but these blockades are illegal, and if you're still participating, the time to go home is now. On a separate track from the Emergencies Act, I want to reassure people that the Canadian Border Services Agency is already turning back non-Canadians trying to enter Canada to participate in blockades. And of course, while we get the situation under control, we'll continue to have Canadians' backs. I want to remind affected businesses that if you're facing revenue losses, support is available through our wage and rent subsidy programs.
Oh, Lord.
We know that downtown Ottawa businesses in particular have been hard hit by these illegal activities. In the coming days, we'll be launching specific support for those businesses.
We're basically going to buy your use our money to buy you.
Is tired of it.
Print more money. We're going to even the fact that, hey, a lot of the businesses in Ottawa that are decided to stay open have been seeing an economic boom happening. Those who just couldn't handle the heat or chose to, be philosophically opposed to, operating their business and serving people. We'll give you guys some money, and who knows, maybe it'll be repayable or not. Maybe down the run we'll forgive that debt because this is all just debt that we're giving you. So maybe we'll forgive that debt, turn it into I don't know. Maybe you can just write the government of Canada onto your balance sheet and make them a shareholder in all Canadian businesses. Wouldn't that be part? Maybe you can forgive everybody's debt in exchange for ownership of their businesses straight out. Wouldn't that be kind of a communistic communal thing that we could do to really protect the safety and well-being of everybody in Canada? I mean, I'm being facetious here, but heavens.
This pandemic. We're hearing your frustration with COVID and even with the temporary measures we had to put forward to keep people safe. I know people are frustrated. I hear it. You have a right to express that frustration and even your anger with the government or government policies. It's something we'll always defend in this free and democratic country. But blockading streets and critical infrastructure and depriving your neighbors of their freedoms is a totally different thing. It has to stop. Tout le monde est fatigué de la pandémie.
Everyone is tired of the pandemic. There are other ways to express yourselves rather than participating in illegal activities and dangerous activities. As Mr. Duclos said last week, public health measures are constantly being reassessed, and we will continue to modify them according to science. In fact, we will be making some announcements on that subject in the coming days.
Today, I also want to speak briefly about our support for Ukraine.
Ukraine, all right.
Saturday,
Now on to the
I
next
spoke
thing.
with President
Oh,
Zelensky.
Lord.
Oh,
And that's got to be part of the psychological framing, right? It's like evil truckers, let's move over to this other war thing that we're talking about. It's like, oh Lord, please do.
And it's
bouncy castles,
no,
hot
exactly.
dogs.
And it was also, it's like, okay, yeah, we're like, we're gonna stoke this war agenda, or like, whatever's taking place there. Because let's not forget history. Yeah, in 2012 when the Olympics were held in Russia, that's when NATO forces went and held an uprising in Ukraine and and tried to take that over while they were trying to protect themselves. And just right now, while the Olympics are going over in communist China, there just seems to be this additional aggression. It's not our fight, Canada, to deal with Ukraine. It's not our money to spend to deal with Ukraine. It's not our responsibility to be involved in other nations and to be a promoter of violence, because that's what they're trying to do. The Conservative Party and some of their members have been suggesting that we spend tons of money and send our weapons over to Ukraine. Give me a break. That is only going to, we shouldn't be doing that. This is not our fight. This is not our fight to pick. Like, we don't have these resources right now. We've got issues here. Let's focus on a free Canada. Let's focus on a prosperous Canada, on an abundant Canada. Let's, like, recognize that, oh yes, we all want this pandemic to end. Well, guess what? The pandemic never began. There was never a pandemic. There is no pandemic. There was a bunch of cooked numbers. There was a bunch of simulations run. There were a bunch of bullshit models that were issued. And that's what happened. And then people were tricked into believing this. You isolated everybody. You cut everybody off. You demoralized them. You got them scared as hell. You got them to cover up their air holes with plastic masks, to start, like, being, like, complying in these sick rituals. You isolated the students. You brought them home. You forced them to watch online learning via Bill Gates's Microsoft learning platform, which they paid for, trying to move them on this ridiculous new agenda. You created hopes about some sort of freedom and safety with some sort of experimental, never been tested, never been deployed, potentially gene editing medical intervention that you want to force on people. You misinformed the Canadian populations into putting poison into their bodies. You're covering up the adverse reactions to that. While continuing to do that, you're ordering $2.5 billion worth of cheap plastic from China to basically enable this pandemic to continue, this case-demic to continue. Hundreds of millions of tests. If you have 100 million tests and they have a 1% false positive rate, you're going to have 1 million cases. That will give you rights to run on whatever new narrative it is about, oh, yes, we've now into, what were we, an Omicron? The Pentagon variant is out now. Oh.
Kyle, I don't know if you want to go back right to that one again, because I'm not really feeling the Ukraine stuff right now, propaganda. But I did have another video, just switch gears a bit. I don't know if you saw. Did you see this? This is a guy from Toronto, another doctor. I mean, there's literally hundreds of them. I mean,
All
if
right,
you haven't,
let's listen to this
like,
doctor.
even if we're wrong,
ahead,
like
Sonny, I
the
trust
people,
you.
if you're not on this side, like, are you not even just like, don't you wonder? Like, even if there was one, forget the hundreds and thousands, even if there was one doctor that said, like, hey, I have some serious concerns, would that not, like, make you at least want to look into it a bit further? Okay, anyways.
I'm Dr. Mark Trozzi. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak with you today. I want to extend my deep gratitude to the Freedom Truckers, to all the protesters, to the other scientists and doctors, and everyone who's been helping to support this movement to reclaim our country and ultimately reclaim our world from the criminal enterprise who have been running the scamdemic and causing severe harm to all of us around the world. COVID-19 is not just a virus. The virus is a tool used to generate fear and to justify a state of emergency, which has been used to suppress human rights around the world. The World Health Organization, an organization which by no means should we trust nor finance, changed their definition of the word pandemic more than a decade ago. And they changed it by removing the requirement that for an infection to be causing a pandemic, there would have to be a lot of death. It used to require orders of magnitude more death than a seasonal influenza. However, they removed that definition and in essence gave themselves the ability to declare a pandemic whenever they wanted. So even with SARS-CoV-2 or COVID-19, they declared a state of pandemic, which meant they declared a state of emergency. And then that was rolled down through their operatives and minions around the world, including Justin Trudeau and Christy Freeland, to impose all the COVID measures under which we've been suffering for 2 years. They partly propped this up with some fake science by a discredited scientist named Ferguson, who claimed millions of us were going to die from SARS-CoV-2, which was not the case. If you look at 2020 and you compare it to previous years, more people were not dying in the world. It was kind of a typical year in terms of death rates around the world. That makes no sense. If indeed there was a new cause, this scary COVID-19 virus, and if it was killing lots of people, then more people would be dying. We hadn't cured everything else that normally caused death, but that wasn't happening. To further the fear, they had their PCR test, which was an extremely high profit measure, quite perverse really when we were giving up plastic straws, and meanwhile they were having us fill our garbage dumps with and our oceans with masks and plastic PCR tests. But the PCR test, which was diagnosing completely healthy people as being sick with SARS and having to close their businesses and lock themselves in their home, it was a sham. We now know that 97% of the positive tests were false. So using these and other measures, they kept the public in a constant state of fear and compliance. We had a disease with a 0.3% mortality. We early on discovered treatment protocols that work. We have great treatment protocols that are very safe and very affordable.
I think, I mean, I can keep going, but again,
this looks like a long video, but I mean,
this is a long video, but the point is, I'm just trying to give people like lots of kind of perspectives and different points, right? It's like they have ours, they have yours, they have mine, they have our guests, right? And then there's also all these people that are on the internet, police officers, military vets, doctors. And so the goal is just to kind of get the message out there. Kyle, what do you think? What do you got on your mind? Should we go back to Justin? I don't know if there's anything there for the Ukraine, or if there's more that he speaks about later on, or are we good there?
At some point, I think it's a press conference. So they might actually ask him some questions.
Okay.
Which would be kind of interesting.
Did I fast forward a bit? Oh, okay, because I'm kind of zooming through it. The Christie lady comes on after. Oh, and here we go. Here's this other guy. Here, tell me if this is interesting. I fast forwarded a bit. Oh, actually, I don't even know who this guy is. I thought it was someone else. I couldn't tell with the mask on.
David Lametti.
Thank you, Prime Minister, colleagues, Canadians. Good afternoon. Canada is a rule of law country.
Yeah.
By declaring a public order emergency under the Emergencies Act.
I don't know if this guy's important, but here's a question.
Premiers today have come out and said that they don't want or need the federal government to exercise its emergency powers in their provinces. So I'm just wondering, how do you respond to the premiers who've come out today and said that?
I thank the premiers for having had the conversation with me this morning. It was extremely important to talk about what was happening right across the country. We have seen challenges across the country that are linked to what we are seeing here in Ottawa, what we're seeing at border crossings. But allow me to repeat what I said before. The measures brought in today are geographically specific and targeted only to where they are needed. These are not blanket powers across the country.
Such a nice guy.
These will be tools that can be used where and when necessary.
Can we get a list of the tools?
Police of jurisdiction.
Is there a supplemental to this?
Blockades or occupations have the tools necessary and can draw on RCMP resources as necessary to keep Canadians safe, to restore confidence in the rule of law and in our institutions, and to make sure that our economy continues to recover from the impacts of COVID-19 over the past 2 years.
At least one.
By the way, I'm just going to pause and just one more time say thank you, everyone, for the comments. These are so good. Keep them coming.
Said that invoking this act is like putting oil on a raging fire. Words along those lines. Do you think you're inflaming the situation even more by invoking this?
My focus is on Canadians.
Is he a comedian now all of a sudden? Oh my God. Since when did he start caring about Canadians? He would have stepped outside of his parliament door and just said, "Hi, everyone. How are you? What are you upset about? No, is it that difficult?" Can we send him a book, please? Seriously.
I would
He needs
I
a
would
course
say, given
on
he's a public servant, like we need FOIA requests.
Kyle, where did we go wrong? This show has a long way to go, man. We're at the bottom right now. This is not any.
But it's like, look, we need transparency. We need accountability into the things. Who's writing this? Who wrote these scripts? Let's see the emails. Let's see the phone calls. See the text messages that are coming.
What would you say to him right now? You got 5 minutes with him, or a minute. What are you gonna say to him?
Say like,
If you could
"Here,
directly, what would you say?
eat this handful of mushrooms and think about what you're doing. Like actually, like break through this hypnosis that you're in. Do you really honestly believe that this is what's going on? Like are you have you become this disconnected? Like, or do you really feel that the Canadians are doing all of this? Like, have you seen the energy? You've seen all the people coming together to stand up and express their opinions and their voices and their frustration and their desire to live as free Canadians. Like, have you heard, like, seen the signs? I'm sure you see that the black sign with your name on it all the time, but like, there's more signs than that. There's the Canadian flags. There's messages of hope. There's people that are just recognizing, like, you're going to go back and you're going to use this science doctrine over and over and over again, and you're going to tune in to your CTV and your CBC and hear those, and those will reinforce the cognitive dissonance. But like, actually listen to people. Do you not think it was like a little bit odd that last year on your election campaign, like, you couldn't go anywhere, that you had to set up multiple venues and like secretly curate crowds of supporters because there was so much opposition? Did you actually believe, like, that our system of governance, you think that, like, democracy in Canada is functioning? Do you think it's functioning anymore? Like, do you think, like, what is being discussed in the House by your check marks is what's truly representative? Like, do you think if we had an open debates, not like curated debates where you exclude certain parties from the debates, do you think if we had open debates that, like, people would believe this?
You should just hit him up on a text, dude. I'm sure you've tried. But it's no, but you'd think that he'd have, like, people just messaging him and shit too, right? Like, he has a phone. It's not like he's completely turned off. Like, he should be the most powerful, informed
if you've
person
got
on
Justin's
planet
number,
Earth.
send him. I mean, I've gotten literally hundreds of messages, hundreds of direct messages of support and love, like asking Justin to do this, ask him to do that, ask him to do this, ask him to do that. Like, I mean, there's so, like, gosh, it's like, I mean, it's crazy. I don't want to, like, dox people. Like, I feel like they're private, but it's like, and you know how many negative messages I've received? Zero. It's weird. I mean, anybody can message me. Anybody can message me on Twitter. Zero.
Yeah, is that a bin wagon? Someone's asking. Is that on your side? You said you're outdoors or something,
Yeah,
right?
I've got. They're dumping some the garbage.
Yeah,
is
so
getting
people,
dumped, so if you have a little bit of noise in the background.
Yeah, it is what it is, right? We got more. Okay, are we gonna go back to this? So oh, by the way, someone's like, "Hey, your guys' feed's a little bit behind." It's because we're doing the pause and talk thing, just because we can.
Exactly.
Through a pandemic, we've lost loved ones. We've seen businesses struggle, we've lost jobs. I just want this to be over. We're exhausted.
Wait,
We're all.
I'm sorry. I just want this to be over. Empathy. That is how we got here. So that was a nice little.
We want this to be over too, and
I
like
know,
just
and he thinks
recognize,
these
like,
people don't like. They have
surrender.
kids. Yeah.
Surrender to the flow of the universe and to the impressions that are coming at you. Surrender to it. Like, just stop. Like, just step out of this.
Exhausted.
Bro.
We're
Too
all
much.
frustrated by the pandemic. For those people who disagree with the measures that governments put in place to keep Canadians safe, to ensure that we would make it through this pandemic better than many of our peer countries, those people have gone from protesting and disagreeing with those measures to limiting and blocking the freedoms of their fellow citizens, hurting jobs, hurting lives and livelihoods, endangering public safety, and weakening our country, not just right now, but for times to come in the eyes of our most important trading partners. These illegal blockades are hurting Canadians.
Go back
and they need
10
to
seconds.
stop.
Wait, yeah, hold on. Did he just say
he
these?
Every
fum-
step of the
He just
way
fumbled.
focuses on Canadians.
He just fumbled. These legal
We've had a
blockades.
long 2 years. We've been through a pandemic, we've lost loved ones. We've seen businesses struggle, we've lost jobs. I just want this to be over. They're exhausted. We're all exhausted. We're all frustrated by the pandemic. For those people who disagree with the measures that governments put in place to keep Canadians safe, to ensure that we would make it through this pandemic better than many of our peer countries, those people have gone from protesting and disagreeing with those measures to limiting and blocking the freedoms of their fellow citizens, hurting jobs, hurting lives and livelihoods, endangering public safety, and weakening our country, not just right now, but for times to come in the eyes of our most important trading partners.
$1 trillion spent.
These illegal blockades are hurting Canadians.
He said it.
They need to stop. Every step of the way, we have been there to support the police of jurisdiction. We've been there with tools and resources to help end these blockades. But it is clear that there are more tools necessary. And that is why we are moving forward with time-limited, geographically specific, extremely bounded measures and additional powers.
You know what's just crazy is that he just had COVID. He walked it off like a flu, and he looks better than he's ever looked. So he must know that this isn't that deadly.
He looks a little pale.
That will allow us to get through
His hair is so
these
wavy.
blockades and occupation and get back to the business of rebuilding our lives and our country.
Look at him. He's
After
so
this pandemic.
sure of himself.
Next question. Bonjour, Monsieur Trudeau, Marshall Rouge.
Hello, Mr. Trudeau, this is Radio-Canada. As we were saying, obviously some certain criteria will have to be met, but certain premiers have already spoken out against these measures. Would you be prepared to go forward and to move forward in provinces who do not agree with the application of this act? Answer: in conversations that we're having across the country, as well as with premiers and as well as with police services, we are working on managing various situations across the country, and those conversations will continue. The Emergencies Act is there to provide us with additional tools and provide additional tools to the police services that are on site in order to manage situations as they emerge. It's not automatically an intervention by the federal police or a direct intervention by the federal government. We're here to provide more tools, including additional authorities to whichever police it has jurisdiction and is there. It's quite possible, and we even hope, that the tools we have provided to police services across the country will not have to be resorted to. Certainly not for very long. Ideally, if these premiers who say that they have the situation in hand will continue to be able to do so. But on a national level, we have reached criteria forcing us to act, to provide more tools to those who maintain order in our country, to protect all Canadians across the country. Question: you're saying that it's necessary. It's been through, we're in the third week of the these protests in Ottawa now. Why did you not do this 2 weeks ago? Don't you think that you failed in your leadership responsibilities in moving forward on this earlier? Answer. Some people will say that we moved too quickly. Other people will say, no, we should have acted weeks ago. The reality is this. The Emergencies Act is not something to take lightly. It's not the first thing you turn to, nor the second, nor the third. We were there to provide additional resources from the very beginning to Ottawa's local police service and elsewhere. We were there to support them in the work that they were doing. And in the last few days, during meetings I had with ministers, with our partners, with officials, it became clear that we required additional tools. And those tools, limited, responsible,
He's so
and
boring.
reasonable, are what we will be using through the Emergencies Act. Next
Kyle?
question.
That the RCMP now have the
Oh.
ability to enforce provincial and municipal laws. Does that mean that they'll be the lead police force agency here in Ottawa? And when can we expect more police officers from the RCMP to work with the City of Ottawa? Because they've been asking for that for a substantial period of time.
As I said, the invocation of the Emergencies Act gives more powers to the police of jurisdiction. It does not make the RCMP automatically police of jurisdiction anywhere across the country. As we have been, we will ensure that the RCMP continues to work to support local police of jurisdiction. And that's what we have been doing in Ottawa. But I think on this question, I'm happy to turn to Minister Mendicino, who can give further information on the situation in Ottawa. Marco?
Just go put my mask on.
Yeah.
Thanks very
theater.
much, Prime Minister.
Look at this guy. Look at this guy.
From the very beginning of the illegal blockades, the federal government has been working closely with local law enforcement where they are the police of jurisdiction, including here in Ottawa. I would point out that we've sent 3 installments of reinforcements to ensure that that Ottawa Police Service has the support that they need. But I think, as we've seen, without question, there have been many, many challenges on the ground to restoring public order on the streets, and one only has to look at the situation on Wellington Street over the past number of weekends. I think it's difficult
What about it?
the impact
It's been amazing.
of those scenes, the conduct that has unfolded by those who are participating
Dancing,
illegal blockades.
partying, singing,
It is not just an
sharing,
inconvenience.
Unacceptable.
It is
each
not
other, cleaning up
simply
the
a matter of
streets, cleaning up the
trivial,
war memorial, shoveling in
we've
snow.
seen intimidation, harassment, and expressions of hate. And at times, the scenes on the streets of Wellington have seemed completely lawless. And that is one of the reasons why we've had to take the very careful and deliberate step of introducing the Emergencies Act today, and the declaration and the specific powers, which again are very targeted, they're very proportionate, and they're time limited, so that there can be greater agility between the RCMP, who will work seamlessly with local law enforcement, including in Ottawa, to restore order. I would also say that while we have seen progress, for example, in Windsor, that we should not assume that that progress is linear. And that is one of the reasons why these measures through the declaration are also necessary. We want to be certain that local law enforcement has the concrete tools that they need. For example, tow trucks, which have been very hard to come by. In addition to that,
Wah, wah, wah. we reported on that, right? Why are they
Yeah.
hard to come by? Because you don't have the will of the people, my friend.
kind of jersey barriers, which will assist with crowd control, that will ensure that trade and traffic can move very efficiently. And in addition
Comments,
to
keep them
that,
coming.
when it comes to the relationship between the RCMP and local law
Energy flows
enforcement,
where
provincial
attention
enforcement,
goes.
the provision that is within the declaration will allow the RCMP to be more efficiently assigned to those areas to uphold the law, be they municipal laws, provincial laws, or indeed the designated zones which will be prohibited from assembly because they may cause a breach of peace or may interrupt our critical infrastructure through trade. So when you look at the suite of the measures that we put into place today, and we've certainly put a lot of thought into that, our view is that they are necessary and they will assist us in dealing with the illegal blockades and bringing them to a peaceful and expeditious resolution.
As my follow-up, Mr.
Should we
Chair,
pause this? Just like, is there anything? I mean, should we?
Yeah,
keep
I mean,
playing it?
like-
is it really relevant? Sorry, I kind of lost track. I was just reading all the comments.
It sounds like they're going to steal.
You want to do a
tow trucks.
TLDR of what the hell they were just talking about?
It sounds like they're going to be stealing tow trucks, and it sounds like as well they're going to designate Wellington Street as like a protest-free zone and try and do something about that. But honestly, it's like, you know, get to Ottawa if you love freedom, if you love Canada, like, you know, lock arms in solidarity. These guys on stage here, they do not represent Canadians any longer. They are not acting on behalf of the people. They will not listen to the people. They will not listen to science or to, like, you know, to scientific debate. They are simply continuing down this medical tyranny path. You know, this was never about a virus. And I warned about this a long time ago that, you know, this shit would be used to take away our rights. And here we are, like, you know, on the precipice of martial law, invoking additional powers for the people. You know, again, energy flows where energy goes. So it's important to be conscious of what's happening here. And like, you know, what they're warning of, but let's just, I think it's important that we also highlight, you know, what's happened on the other side, what's actually going on in Ottawa. So let's pull up like some of the actual, like, you know, scenes of this, because this isn't stuff that the mainstream media is showing. I'm sure everybody on here appreciates it, but it's like, you know, look, coast to coast in Canada, Canadians are coming together and they're you know, discussing, and they're you know, they've had enough, and they're and all over, you know, they're standing up, and like, you know, you're going the absolute wrong direction with this.
Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I can hear that.
oh, so here I'm just playing some music for while we play through the Instagram. What is this again? Freedom Convoy?
Yeah, this is Freedom Convoy 2022 on Instagram, and its story is just like, you know, it's amazing, just showing all the people, you know, and the activity, and like, gosh, like the energy in Ottawa is amazing. Like it's so bizarre what's going on, like in terms of like their little bubble, matrix bubble, versus the reality. Like, go out there, like, give a speech, talk, like, express yourselves, like, actively engage in an open conversation. If you can't talk to the people, there's a big fucking problem. Like, engage, open your hearts, open your mind. It's okay if you share a different opinion, but at least be willing to listen to the other side of the equation. Hot tubs on Wellington Street, incredible.
Call in the army. No, okay, wait, no, we
Incredible.
just no,
Now,
sorry,
this
we
is
just got
this is a
news that
lovely.
they're
This
not gonna
woman's
call
got
the army.
like, you know,
Thank God.
sacred cacao that she's brewed up herself.
Amazing.
Like, yeah, I mean, I'd love to talk to some truckers right about now. Maybe we should see if we can get someone on the ground.
Hey, I figured out how we can live stream to Instagram too. We are the creators of our own reality.
Oh, I mean, you gotta get the sound on some of these ones. Like this one is insane, in a good way.
Okay, how do I get sound going on this? Okay, let me go back a bit. Oh, this one?
the next one.
Why?
Wow. I need to go back to Ottawa.
And it's like if you go into that energy field, like
Yeah.
you don't, we'll come about the same. That's why it's like you got to get into that energy field to feel it, because like we've been so disconnected for so long that like what's happening right now is people are coming together and they're raising the vibration. We're not gonna be stuck in this bullshit paradigm that you want us to be in. We're done with this control domination tactic that that the original, like that the Europeans brought, dominated the indigenous folk, continue to dominate them. Now they're simply pushing it on the people. Now this is about domination, whereas people are coming together. This is not a violent protest. This is like, look, hey, look at this business, absolutely booming. That's our great Tim Hortons right there. Just giving, communal effort, food, sharing, people of all different backgrounds coming out. Yeah, check out Ottawa Walks for great streams as well. What's up, Alex? Yeah, bro. Miss you. And like, yeah, I mean, and then pirate radio too. Like, I would suggest that, like, bring out your boom. Like, at some points it'd be great to be inspired from the Decentralized Dance Party and have simulcast all across Ottawa. Like, the unity here, and it's like, and I know it's probably like, it's really like pissing Justin off that all these people are doing this and he can't take any credit for it. So there's like sound stages all over downtown Ottawa. This is literally, it has turned into like, a festival movement. This is so great.
Oh, sorry.
Go, you got to go back to that one. Turn this one up.
Yeah.
For the Bengals. Who's rooting for the Rams? Who's rooting for the Canadian Truckers?
That's nice.
See, that is like that, like that counter protest, like that energy. That is a really dark energy in there.
I mean, it's kind of just funny at this point. Like my ankle.
Oh my god.
It's kind of funny, but I mean, like, yeah, it's dark. It's just like I feel when I hear that or feel that, I actually feel bad for them. Like, no freedom. Could you imagine being on the opposite side of freedom right now? Like, they're writing articles about how freedom and the Canadian flag is right wing and this wing and that wing. It's like, yo, my dad used to have 2 Canadian flags hanging in front of our house growing up, and this was before Canadian flags were fun to have on, or like the thing to do. Like that. Anyways, where are we right now? Let's keep going. Man, I think I might have. Oh, here we go. Lots of comments. This is crazy, no?
Yeah.
Great. Lovely. Woo woo! Look at this. This is insanity. And no, this is, yeah.
Here's one of Doug Ford's police officers harassing a woman at her home because of something she wrote on Facebook in support of the truckers. It's one of the creepiest.
No, we've seen that one. We saw it in our last one, I think. Anyways, that's just insanely like Canadian, right? Like cowboys on their horses. Love it. Kyle, is there anything else you wanted to talk about now?
I'd like to maybe
Or do
invite
you want to
some.
go after this?
I'd like to invite some people in here.
Yeah,
I
if there's
see
somebody,
we've
I mean,
got-
there's so many people commenting. If some of you want to speak to us or talk or come on the
Yeah,
show, I mean,
like-
I have, like I said, an infinite amount of content. Like,
I just sent
I
the
feel
link
like,
to Alex. Alex, if you want to join, I mean, I would love to kind of connect and get your opinion. I
yeah,
know
let's
there's
get
been
some
a-
other people on here. And if you're in
incredibly
Ottawa
high
or if
vibration
you're on the
descent to
ground, let us know. That would be even crazier. We got this. Unbelievable. Bum, 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 bum. I love those trucks with those freedom signs in front. Like, dun, dun, dun. Alex Jones for president. Hey, Kyle was on Alex Jones the other day.
Yeah, and people are asking like, when are you going to run as an MP and this and that? And I'm like, I just wanted to be clear. I am not running for any political office. I think this system is so broken that we need to look at new models for it. And if like you wanted to delegate your voting power to me and be able, and if you don't agree with the way I used it, then you can take it back. Like I think that is a much more honest, accountable system than than other ones. Let me message David Paisley too. He's the guy who's on Fox. See if he wants to come in.
All right, so that's that. Let me kill that feed. And what else? What else, Kyle? Get ready for the bail-in. Oh God. Yeah, that's so.
So what's a bail-in?
scary.
What's a bail-in?
Bail-in. Someone just
What
said.
does that
You know
mean?
what a bail-in is, no?
Oh, tell
Tell
anybody who's
people what
listening.
bail-in is. What is a bail-in? People know what a bailout is, right? A bailout is when, let's say, a bank or some entity is in trouble. Hey, we just had someone join. So they go to the government, and the government essentially prints money and gives it to them. That's a bail out. A bail in, from what I know, this Cyprus, for example, was an example of a bail in. I think, I don't know, 6 years ago, when the government, the banks didn't have enough money, so instead of going to the government and having more money printed, they just took money out of their depositors' accounts.
Yeah, it's just taking money out of your accounts. It's like, instead of printing new money, we're just going to dock all of your accounts of money.
Pretty much.
So that's what they did in Cyprus. That's what Bitfinex
Kyle, you want to
did
introduce
after
our next guest?
They got hacked. Yeah, totally. All
Hey,
right,
guys.
Alex, what's up, bro? Yes.
Oh, not too much. Glad to be here. Yeah, I was just checking out these new apparently sweeping mandates on financing, which is very interesting and relevant to the crypto space. But yeah, it seems like well, this is something I read about back in 2014, that bail-ins are apparently like this legal thing they can do where they can raid bank accounts to cover government debts. So I think with this new wave of stuff that's kind of rolling in, we're going to be seeing a bailout to cover some of the debts of the country. So it might only be for people with more than like 100K in their account or something.
I
But
mean, and even if they like zeroed everybody's balance, let's say they did like the most extreme. If they took every dollar that any Canadian had in their bank account, like I doubt it would even cover like the amount of money they've just printed like this year, and it would cause like it would create basically an apocalypse when people realized that all their money was gone. But I think most Canadians are probably in debt too. So yeah, there's also that kind of odd end to the equation.
yeah, there's definitely some disposable income for some people who've done all right. They were able to work from home. Like there was record savings, but I think a lot of people are saving up to buy their first home, which is becoming more unattainable every day. And then, yeah, what we could easily see is like, this being expanded to be more targeted towards certain individuals. Probably won't be out of certain corporate accounts, but yeah, I think that's kind of the biggest thing, like with the whole pandemic situation is that a lot of money was printed to pay for the vaccines. Like we paid a lot to develop them. We pre-ordered all the doses. Now we are trying to justify using all of them. So yeah, it's kind of all coming to fruition in some way. But yeah, there's definitely more stuff I think going on than just the pandemic. I think we're seeing a lot of the finance world being shaken up right now. There's a lot of issues I'm seeing in the stock market. With sort of like stock settlement and stuff, people not having shares, like the whole GameStop phenomenon from a year ago, like this could be coming due with a lot of um, synthetic shares, lending shares that they don't own or that don't even exist, and then being able to lend the more shares to cover that. Like there's only a couple ways that they can cover these their tracks and stuff. But yeah, I've seen enough stuff in the crypto space and with more traditional finance people coming in that I think there's going to be a lot of issues with traditional finance. I can't say they have the same hubris that any of us in the wild west of finance have, or well, that don't have. I've seen a lot of mistakes, and from the Mount Gox days to more recent exchanges, and I don't think there's a whole lot of difference between traditional finance and crypto-related finance, blockchain stuff. Like, I guess the difference is, there's still systems underneath that are, backed by math. You don't have to trust people, and yeah, that's kind of it's kind of crazy, right? We're seeing this all unfold. I've got some neighbors that are helping out with the protests in Ottawa, and yeah, I think the farmers stand with it.
And where are you right now, Alex? Still Vancouver? Or?
Yeah, I'm about an hour or two south of Toronto. Just helping out family farm. It's been probably the best place to be during these uncertain times. I was in Vancouver for part of the pandemic, but things were not they were not improving over time there. So yeah, now just helping, create several thousand calories of food for Canadians each day. I milked cows yesterday, and
right. Crypto to cows.
Yeah, no, I've always tried to keep a foot in each world.
And what do you think about how this is kind of affecting kind of the crypto world? Because, I think this was a lot of the things that we've talked about, the reasons for Bitcoin, and now we're seeing it's kind of in action. And what do you think? I feel like there's probably some concern for people who probably are holding on to crypto right now too, about underneath these orders, they talked about financial attractions, and then obviously they're going after the GoFundMe and Give Send Go. But I would imagine, the Hong Kong HODL guys, they're probably going to be under the microscope. I'm sure we're all going to be under the microscope.
Yeah, I know I was a little hesitant to come on the show, but there's plenty of information. I've been public in crypto since I joined, which it's not the smart decision, but I thought it was a way to kind of add a face to some legitimate, people who are interested. We can't all be anons and expect to succeed. So I think. Yeah, I think you definitely have to be careful. Don't be keeping everything on an exchange or in there's you got to be self-custodial. You got to own your keys. It's pretty much one of the core tenets.
Yeah, and protect your keys too, because ultimately there's ways to keep it private, I like to say, hodl your savings and spendle your checking and givell with love, and for giveling and spendling, it makes sense to have a mobile wallet, but for for longer term savings account, you want to protect that in a way and look at like, multi-sig kind of wallets as an option, or like, actually not even holding the keys, like that you generate the keys, but you don't actually necessarily hold them. Keep them in a secure location, maybe in a safe or behind a painting, or I don't know, like in a treasure chest buried in a public park.
Yeah, got plenty of land around to hide a box in, so do it the
Right.
old-fashioned way and have buried treasure.
Well, indeed, and I think too, like now is the time when there's a lot of things going on. Like it might like make sense to not like might be time to like convert some of that digital wealth into security around yourself. So that might mean moving to a place, like maybe changing geographical location, maybe acquiring land, maybe acquiring vehicles, food, plants, seeds, anything towards build becoming more sustainable. I think one of the things that like as long as the Canadian population, the world population, relies on the big agricultural industry for our food and for nourishment, then we are slaves to them. So the more people like taking upon themselves to start growing vegetables. I think they said if like 10% of lawns in America were turned into gardens, that America would be able to feed itself. So it's like just recognize like there's actions that we can take, and I think gardening and growing is really fulfilling. It also requires some patience, but in the long run, that's setting up food security for yourselves and your communities, and then working together as a community where, hey, if you're growing this, that, and the other, and maybe that person has chickens, like dude, chickens output an insane amount of eggs, like an insane amount of eggs. If you have like 20 chickens, like you got enough eggs for 5 households on a daily basis. Like
Yeah, like we have some free range like birds on the home dairy farm, but my other brother in the last 5 years here, he got into laying layers, so he has a couple chicken barns now, so we're producing 20 to 30,000 eggs a day. So
wow.
it's a lot of food. But yeah, like there's a lot of work and energy and economies of scale at play in our operation, and that's we're relying on so many different logistical things for all the businesses. And yeah, it's the same with milk too. Like we are producing enough milk for like 50,000 people. I think it's a lot of calories. It's a lot of work that goes into running that whole thing, but it's still like 10 employees, including the family. But we rely on a lot of things like fuel and or like different logistical lines, distributors. But yeah, like being able to have like a community chicken coop, I think is a huge benefit that you can see.
Hey, Kyle, can you see my screen?
Agreed. I can see your screen, Sonny.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are asking about, kind of what's going on, right? Going down with the Emergency Act. Yeah, Kean's been writing about it.
Formerly known as the War Measures Act.
Yeah, he's granted himself emergencies powers under the Emergencies Act. By decree, Canada's supreme ruler has empowered banks to freeze any and all assets deemed to be supporting freedom protests in Canada.
So like if we want to push that to an extreme, so like they just hacked Give Send Go, so they got all the details of all the people who donated. They hacked, or they didn't even need to hack GoFundMe because their GoFundMe is part of the organization. So GoFundMe can give everybody input, can pass all that information. So technically, anybody who donated to Give Send Go or GoFundMe could see their bank accounts seized and all of their assets seized based on that interpretation.
It's pretty crazy. Hey, is it coming out as pink or something for some reason?
No.
Oh no, it's okay. I don't know, something going on with my screen. Look what he says here. It says He says, just told me we'll have to wait and see how the day unfolds after I asked him if human rights were about to be suspended.
Yeah, well, and there's John asking, like, after this press conference, like, what's going to happen to the convoy? Like, do you think, like, it's just going to be like, okay, like, he called it, like, therefore, like, let's all go home. Let's bust this stage down. He found a line in a book and is invoking it. I don't think so. Again, I think it's just going to have like Streisand effect. So it's like, if they do this, it's going to, trigger many things. Again, like, if you're a freedom loving Canadian, maybe, if they're going to be working with the banks on this, it might be time to go withdraw your, maybe to withdraw your deposits and, go to hard cash or get crypto. And do it properly. But like, that would, I feel like if Canadians started doing that en masse, like that would put an end to these mandates pretty fucking quickly. Because nothing is more powerful than the almighty dollar. And if our big 5 banks started experiencing run and they realized, oh shit, we don't have the capital to cover all the deposits because we've been ferociously lending for the last little bit. And the fact of the matter is Canadians probably are like, 5 to 10x leveraged of how much what they owe versus how much they have. They said they're going after crypto too. It's like, but I mean, you can say you're going after crypto. It's like, we're going to go after them. And it's like, even if they like do that, you can't like go like, you're going to start stealing people's phones. Like, why they do at some point, like, who's going to be doing that too? Because at the end of the day, like, we're talking about enforcers and like, to enforce things on all of Canadians, like, yeah, it's pretty easy to work with the banks to like shut down everybody's accounts. But like, because that doesn't actually involve that much and that can be done through centralized powers. But to go and to take people's phones,
just
like,
call the Bitcoin CEO. Well, how hard is that?
Right.
Just call the CEO of Bitcoin.
One thing I think they'll definitely target is the exchanges. Like they've already been regulating, cracking down on them hard more. Like the OSC, Ontario Securities Commission. They're way more stringent than the rest of Canada's securities divisions. But like I've talked to exchange owner. He reached out past spring and was like, "Oh yeah, just letting you know, this might affect your account at some point. You're not allowed to own more than $10,000 in certain assets. Like the blue chips are fine, but the more obscure ones, they're saying that you have to, you basically can't have a certain amount more than that on their platform. I guess they deem it too risky, but like that's the slippery slope, and it's already putting a burden on him where he's got to like separate the accounts and try and make sure their trade system accounts for that and doesn't allow people to do things like. So they're gonna try and do death by 1,000 cuts, where they slowly go after the exchanges and the services, the people who've been operating legitimate businesses in the space, and, for many a number of years, and just basically make it harder and harder until like you're not allowed to have your own wallet. You have to be using a custodial wallet service from one of the big banks. Like that's kind of, I think, where they're going to try and regulate it, where self-custody is not allowed. Any address has to be registered. You're not allowed to withdraw to address that doesn't have a name associated with it. So yeah, they're going to do their best to put a front end on it and say, like, this is what you're allowed to use. And if you go outside of that, you're breaking a law.
All right, let's find this press conference that's being held right now by convoy organizers. That someone just said.
Hell yeah. Well, I always, which organizers? I mean, no, it just seems like there's.
Well, I mean, it's like, I don't know. Let's check.
Let's find out. Let's find out. Real time live stream, baby.
This is a great thing. Welcome to the new. Welcome to the new media.
As we go.
The public media.
Right? Do you mind finding something, Kyle? I'm just gonna play something to tie us over. Have you seen this? This is Manuel.
I mean,
I guess. Why is he speaking? Anyways, I'm just gonna stop sharing. But yeah, I don't know, where can we find this live stream of the convoy organizers. You can't even Google stuff anymore, right? If anyone knows, share the link, please.
Yeah, or like tag me in the link on Twitter and we can pull that up.
Yeah, I have no idea. Anyways.
Yeah, as Francis said, everybody chill out. Like, all right, like let's just take a breath here. It's all good. Let's keep the vibration high. Like, we don't need to and recognize, like, this is kind of expected.
Yeah, it's pretty wild though, and it's kind of surreal.
Yeah, and it looks like, okay, Hong Kong Coddle is like these guys even are like, okay, like hold on, like they're saying, Dictor's going to be in charge of the account now. Yeah, again, this is why it's important to have this is why this is the case for a DAO, right? This is the case for a DAO governing decisions on this. That it's like it's owned by the DAO, which is representative of the people. If the people decide to send it, then it triggers an automatic send. Versus, okay, this person's got a key, like, okay, he's representing, but you get that guy, all of a sudden it's like, we're in trouble.
Yeah, someone said Rebel News. I'm on the Rebel website. Do they have like a live streaming thing? I don't see anything. Oh, here we go, live. Nice. Ontario, yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. Anyways,
yeah, okay, we'll keep looking, but
yeah. Rebel News has something on the press conference. Rebel, check out Brighton's thoughts. Anyways, whatever. We'll do some research. Come back, Kyle. Listen, dude, we've been doing this for like an insanely long amount of time. This is like we're going on 3.5 hours. Should we take a little break or something?
It's a big news day.
Big news day. just getting warmed up.
Well, I appreciate the outreach, guys. I'm gonna get going as well.
All right, thank you, brother. Yeah, thank you for chiming in and being part of this. Really appreciate it.
Let's put your face out there.
Yeah, stay safe. Keep your stick on the ice, and have a wonderful day.
And long live the truckers. All right, take care, bud. Kyle, I was gonna say is yes, I agree. Big news day, but if I don't want this to be big divorce day, it's also Valentine's Day. See, your brother picked the worst possible day to make it an emergency. Right? I'm just saying, is like if the ladies out there aren't pissed at Justin right now, this is your time. Like, hello, like what a terrible day, a day of love and hearts and chocolate and
coming out with this. I mean, it's like the Federal Reserve, issuing the act on the 24th of December on Christmas Eve, and I think it was 1916 or 12, or I don't know, one of those years. But yeah, it's sneaky. It's a terrible day to be doing this, and
right.
Yeah, it's decidedly kind of evil, and here, what do we have? Chrystia Freeland saying banks can immediately freeze or suspend bank accounts without a court order and be protected from civil liability. Share this link. We can watch this. Won't forget this Valentine's Day. Oh man.
Is this what we're talking about? No, this is that Chrystia lady. Wait, why are you sharing this with me?
Because this one has to do with the emergency orders on it.
Oh, lovely. This stuff is so depressing. But it is what it is.
Like just a witch.
I met her. Or I was in the same room as her. It was a little Bitcoin stuff. It was like a conference type of thing.
For actions taken in good faith. federal government institutions will have a new broad authority to share relevant information with banks and other financial service providers
The Great
to
Reset.
ensure their relationships with anyone involved.
Sorry, I just puked in my mouth a little bit there. Okay, Kyle, this is getting heavy, dude. I mean, it's just like, yeah, we're just having fun, live streaming, comments, guests, but it's like, what does that even mean? You know, emergency act? Like, oh, it's just, I literally feel like I need, yeah. I don't know what I need exactly. Some water, at least, fresh air, sunlight, maybe a walk. But yeah, yeah, I'm kind of like, yeah, I'm kind of at my end of my creativity here. I'm not gonna lie. Unless you got something you want me to share, I say we take a little break and then
All right,
reconvene in a few hours, and then I
let's
can
take
go
a little
again for a
break.
few hours because my brain is mush.
Let's
3.5
take a little
hours.
break. Like, you know, everybody like out there, like, yeah, go, you know, be with your loved ones. Go get some, you know.
Are the
make
troops
dinner,
in the blue
act-
helmets coming? See, that's what I mean. But this commenting thing, everyone commenting is so much fun that it keeps me going, right? Like I think
Yeah.
he's referring to the UN maybe, but yeah,
Truckers are standing firm.
yeah. So I don't know what happened. I think it's your YouTube maybe or something that
Yeah,
that
my
helped
my
engage a bunch
YouTube's
of
back
people. But I
on. Yeah.
love this. This is so awesome. You guys are awesome. Look at that. Positive compliments. Love it. So we're gonna keep going. Like I said, we'll probably break another 5-hour day today, 6 hours, who knows? But let's reconvene in a little bit. I'm gonna try and spend some time with the wifey. She's been super patient. My little kids came a few times. Daddy, are you done yet?
Yeah, okay.
They want to play.
We're
So love
done,
it.
Sonny. Yeah, my
Yeah,
kids are gonna be home soon too. So
all right, cool. We'll plug back in soon.
yeah.
Then. Okay, let's do
All
our
right.
finishing thing.
Wishing
Superman.
everybody love.
Woo, 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 woo. Thank you.